Hello, everyone. We're going to get going here in just a minute. Just let everybody kind of trickle in, and then I'll get rolling here in just about another minute. All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Matthew Wicks. I'm the supervisor of athletics for Pasco County Schools. You are attending a session that we're going to just speak briefly about for about the next 25 minutes. We're going to talk about how to stay on track for college athletics if your student athlete or student has aspirations of playing in college. It's important to watch and learn some of the ins and outs of navigating that. Also, at the end, to not slow down the kind of the presentation, I will allow some time at the end for you to ask questions if you have some questions. Also, feel free to put it in the chat if you will, and I can at the end look at the chat and answer some of those questions as well. But I will allow some time at the end for any questions that you might have. So hopefully we'll answer a lot of them, but there's always lingering questions with these, and people have a tendency to reach out throughout the year if they do have those questions. And at the end, I'll give you my contact information, and you're more than welcome to call me or shoot me an email if you do have questions as we go along. So I'll get going. All right. So, like I said, my name is Matt Wicks, supervisor of athletics for Pasco County Schools. So just want to talk to you a little bit about kind of like the year-by-year plan. If you're a student athlete or student wants to potentially play sports and athletics. We're going to first talk about the Division I and Division II requirements. And then as we move along, I will get into Division III and NAI and junior college requirements as well. So obviously you want to start planning by working as hard as you can and get the best grades as possible. I guess that is a given. All freshmen start high school with a fresh core GPA, and that starts for all those freshmen. They just finished their first semester. Now they're into their second semester, third quarter of their GPA. So they're now have those core GPAs. There is what we call a NCAA approved course list for Pasco County Schools. This presentation will be available for you once we're done and on the district website. Under the College and Career Fair page. That way, if you need any of these links, you're more than welcome to download the presentation and grab them. But we do have an approved list that I update and make sure all those courses that your students take are on the NCAA approved list when meaning core and other. Electives are not on the NCAA course approved list, so they don't account for your GPA your core GPA. So ninth grade is really about just doing the best you can do and really trying to set the tone early in high school and making sure you're on pace to get those core courses done by the start of your senior year. And I'll talk to you about that in a minute. All right. So when you get to 10th grade year, again, you want to stay on track and you want to find out as you sign up for new classes. If you do have aspirations of playing in college, you want to make sure that when you're talking to your guidance counselor, that you are taking NCAA approved courses. If you fall behind, if for some reason your student doesn't do well in a class, please remember to not take, if you want to do athletics in the future, college, you don't want to take credit recovery, you want to take grade replacement courses. So anything that's equal to what your course is, whether it's eSchool, retaking the class, FLVS, something like that. You don't want to take Apex because it is not approved for course recovery for NCAA. We'll talk about the clearinghouse here in just a minute, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that. You don't really need to worry about it your sophomore year. So 11th grade year, again, make sure that you're on track to graduate on time and that you're taking the right core course, the right amount of core courses, and we'll talk about that number here in a minute. As your student starts to take the ACT or the SAT or both, you want to make sure that they send a 4-digit 9999 center code. When you register, you can put which like different universities have codes. The NAIA has a code, and then the NCAA has a code. So what we've noticed over the last few years is some schools, since COVID, some schools don't require test scores anymore, or they're optional. You can include them or not include them. But what I can see after doing college visits with my own kid and my own children recently, a lot of schools are actually starting to add those back in. And some states are actually trying to put it back in legislation to where schools or universities in their state have to require test scores again. So some of your Ivy Leagues are doing it. Some of your upper academic schools are doing that as well. And at the end of your junior year, you want to make sure that all your transcripts are uploaded and that you start registering for the clearinghouse. And you can just do a profile account. You don't have to do a certification account yet, but you can create a profile account anytime you want. We'll talk about that in just a minute. So 12th grade year, this is the last, this is the time to finish all your core. Again, NCAA stuff, that 4-digit code 9999. And then request for final amateurization certification. That really, what that means is that you want to, so let's basically say like you have a college that's interested in you, they want to offer you a scholarship, you want to sign with them, you want to request that amateurization. That way your NCAA account is finalized and you can sign that national letter of intent. And then obviously after you graduate, you want to make sure that your guidance counselor or someone at your school uploads your final transcript with proof of graduation. It's very important. So obviously your goal as a senior is to graduate, right? You want a proof of eligibility of graduation. And then this is really only for Division I and Division II students. These are only students that are in what we call an institutional request list. So basically what that means is if you get a letter from a school saying, oh, we like you, come to our camp. That is not being on someone's institutional request list. If someone comes and visits your athlete or student at a school and says, we are recruiting you, that means you're on their institutional request list. And that means that they want to have access to be able to pull up your information on the clearinghouse. So here's the time when you register. You want to register clearinghouse when you're actively being recruited by a school, not when you're receiving letters. You can ask the college point blank. You can say, am I on your IRL? And if they say yes, then you want to go ahead and register with that NCAA eligibility center and become an active basically become active on the college IRL. You also need to register on the NCAA clearinghouse to become eligible for an official visit. And then they'll ask you for your NCAA ID number. So that way they can see your accounts. Here's the difference between the two accounts. Oops. Difference between the two accounts is a certification account, Division I, Division II students. The fee is $90. And then if you're obviously an international student, a little bit more. And this is just some of the stuff that they give you. They want basically like an account information and all that good stuff. That's the certification account required for visits, required to sign an NLI. And then the profile page is just a basic one. It's free. It's for if you're an undecided student, think you might play, or you might be going to potentially going to Division III school. You can always transition that profile page into a certification account. So here's the kind of basic information. Go to the NCAA Eligibility Center, click Create a New Account at the bottom of the screen, click Create Account, and then basically fill out all the information, and the NCAA will send you registration instructions. Pretty basic. So here's the big requirements. What is a core course? Well, it's probably what you think it is. English, math, science, social science, or a foreign language, or some type of comparative religion or philosophy class. Basically considered four-year college preparatory type course. And they're all taught at or above high school's regular academic level. For mathematics, that means anything above Algebra 1 or higher. And then they obviously are all taught by a qualified instructor. And then if you need a list of the districts or the school your student attends, a list of approved courses, you can visit eligibilitycenter.org/course list. And that information is on there based off of what we have submitted to the NCAA for eligible courses in Pasco. Before you take a non-traditional course, meaning FLVS or Pasco eSchool, those two would be approved as NCAA courses. So if you took an FLVS class, like a math class or an English class, those would be approved. Again, NCAA does not approve APEX. That is the traditional software or program we use in Pasco County for credit recovery. We do offer APEX traditional online classes. Those are approved, but we just don't approve, they don't approve APEX as a credit recovery. We do offer some APEX as grade replacement courses, which are kind of taught like eSchool or FLVS. But again, they don't approve APEX as a credit recovery. And then all non-traditional courses must have a defined period of time. So like I take this course, it will be done in 8 weeks or 32 weeks or whatever. 18 weeks. It has to have a defined, it can't have an open-ended end date, if that makes sense. Taking online or virtual non-traditional courses does not necessarily mean the student is homeschooled. Homeschool is a little bit different. If you don't know the difference, I can clarify that at the end if you have a question about that. So Division I means there's a core course time limitation, which means you need to get those core courses in. From the time you enter 9th grade, you have 4 years or 8 semesters to complete your core course requirement. If you fail to complete that on time in those 8 semesters, you will not be counted. They will not be counted towards NCAA eligibility. On time means if your high school graduation takes place on June 1st, then you must graduate on June 1st. If you do not, that means you will not be considered on time. And then Division II, you are permitted to use all core courses completed from your 9th grade year until the time you enroll in the college. So Division II is just a little bit different. So if you needed to take something in the summer before you enrolled or attended the university, you could do that as well. We have something called early academic qualifiers. That means you've hit those 14 core courses after 6 semesters. You could be considered an early academic qualifier, which means you have to have a minimum 900 or core GPA of 3.0 or higher, a minimum of 14 core. So 3 English, 2 math, 2 science, 2 additional math or science, and then 5 additional core in any area, meaning foreign language, philosophy class, some type maybe of religious class. Just depends on what the schools offers. We don't offer too many religion classes, but sometimes there's some other things mixed in. And then Division II, you got to have SAT minimum 1,000, and then the 12 core, 3 English, 2 math, 2 science, and then 5 additional. So Division I core course requirement across the board, just for normal, is 16 core. That means 4 years of English, 3 years of math, algebra 1 or higher, 2 years of science. 1 has to be 1 year has to have a lab, and then 1 additional year of English, math, or science, and then 2 social sciences, 2 years of social science, and then 4 years of additional courses, which is a foreign language, comparative religion, and philosophy class. And then for a full qualifier, you have to have a core GPA minimum of 2.3. You have to have those 10 core courses are required before the beginning of your senior year. So that means by the end of your junior year, you got to have 10 core to be considered a full qualifier. And those get locked in. And I'll talk to you about what that means in just a minute. But after those 10 core courses are done, by the time right before you start your senior year, they get locked in, which means you can't replace them. 7 of those 10 must be in the areas of English, math, and science. When it means locked in, that means start of the 7th semester. That means basically, like, I'll use this for example. The best way to understand it is if you take trigonometry and you get a C in it, and it gets locked into your core GPA after your junior year, you can't go back and retake trigonometry to try to get an A or a B because it's already locked in. So once that thing's locked in, it's locked in. Students who don't meet that course progression or the core course progression requirements may still be eligible. You can still get academic athletics aid. You can still practice that first year. You will just be considered a academic redshirt, which means you can do everything but play in a game. So here's your Division I qualifier again. That means you're a full qualifier. You've gotten those 16 core and you've met that minimum 2.3 GPA on those 16 core. That means you can do everything except aid, practice, and compete first year in college. Requirement, again, must be 10 core by the time you start your high school, or I'm sorry, senior year. And then must be 7 of those areas. And then they get locked in. And then you can't retake those selected courses after the beginning of your senior year. So this is Division II, same principle, 16 core, but you got 3 years of English, 2 years of math, 2 years of science, natural physical science with the year lab, 3 additional math, English, or science, 2 social sciences, and then the 4 additional core, which is the foreign language and comparative religion philosophy. So Division II, same thing. You're basically your full qualifier, 16 core, 2.2 GPA or better, and then a minimum ACT score that matches the GPA on the sliding scale, meaning if your GPA is lower, your test scores are higher. If your test scores are lower, then your GPA is higher. So it's kind of a sliding scale that way. And then again, just a reminder, if your students taking the ACT or the SAT, they want to use that 4-digit 999 code, 9999 code, 4 of them. And then so that way that score goes to the testing center, the eligibility center for your student. Division III is just a little bit different. Unlike Division I, there's Division I and Division II, there's no uniform set of eligibility requirements. Division III, it is institutionally specific, which means a lot of our Division III schools are private universities, so they have their own requirements. So that is all determined by the eligibility for admission, financial aid, practice, competition, all that's determined by the school. The NCAA Eligibility Center does not perform certifications for D3 students. So a little bit easier for D3 students in some respects, but sometimes those schools do have higher requirements than even some Division II and Division I student schools. So here's a list of some hot links. Again, I can share this presentation with you. It will be uploaded for you as well, so that you can access it for those links. NCAA.org. All these are searchable things as well. You can search NCAA and NCAA Eligibility Center. You can reserve or search for the Guide for College Bound Athletics for the NCAA. The NCAA has a ton of resources on their website. So let's talk a little bit about the NAIA, which are smaller schools, but do offer scholarships. So this is just kind of a comparison of what the NCAA is versus the NAIA. NCAA has about 1,200 schools, where the NAIA only has about 300. NCAA has those 3 divisions, Division I, II, and III, and NAIA has Division I, Division II. So NCAA obviously sponsors more sports, and they do have scholarships for Division I and Division II, same for NAIA. About half the amount of students in NAIA, obviously much smaller schools as well. The NAIA has a quote unquote clearinghouse as well. It's called playnai.org. Same similar type setup as the NCAA clearinghouse, just a little bit different requirements for NAIA, less requirements, I should say. So more basic requirements, graduation, just basic academic eligibility. They do a eligibility certification, but they don't certify your amateurization. They just check your academic eligibility and your terms of attendance and things like that. Here's some requirements for NAIA for academic freshmen academically. Cumulative 2.0 GPA, finish in the top half of your graduating class, minimize or minimal standards on the tests, ACT 16, 860 on the SAT, and then you can get early determination are available after a student's 6th or 7th semester of high school. So you can get that early determination by NAIA 2 as well after your junior year. Exceptions for freshmen, homeschool for NAIA, 20 ACT, 950 SAT. And then the NAIA has a homeschool review committee. So if you're a student is homeschooled, they will have to go through another review committee for NAIA eligibility. And then students with learning disabilities, with IEPs, things of that nature, they will have they will meet certain eligibility requirements, and then they have a review committee as well for those students with IEPs. Again, taking the ACT, SAT, the NAIA's code is 9876, kind of easy to remember, and then the NCAA was the 9999. 9. I always shortchanged one of those 4 nines, and then 9876 for NAIA. This is kind of a snapshot of what NAIA's website looks like. That way you can see it and be able to kind of give an idea what it looks like. For more information about NAIA, visit NAIA.org. Let's talk a little bit about junior college, because that's a great option for a lot of students. If they are not getting looked at by Division I or Division II or even Division III, they can go to a junior college, which that is our 2-year school. And then you are eligible then after 2 years to go to a bigger school or receive financial aid again, or academic aid or athletic aid. So for or junior college, graduate from high school with a diploma, you can sign a national letter of intent and still go to a 4-year school if you qualify. So student athletes must graduate from high school that's approved with an approved diploma from basically, like if you graduate from a Pasco County high school, that's obviously approved. We have general diplomas through the state of Florida. Your high school graduation is documented on official transcripts, date of graduation, all that good stuff that we would normally do through Pasco County School. That's a given. And then students have passed the state approved equivalency exam or awarded a certificate or diploma established of eligibility, written proof of successful completion or member institutions such as passing scores. Students can enroll in college prior to meeting the minimum requirement, but cannot be eligible for participation. So again, you can enroll in some of these junior colleges, kind of like an early or a non-qualifier for NCAA. You can enroll, but not be eligible for participation quite yet. For more information on junior colleges, there is a student athlete guide that you can look up, NJCAA Student Athlete Guide. This is some neat slides here, just kind of a comparison. People always ask the percentage of student athletes that go from high school to play sports in college, and this guy gives you just kind of a percentage of the amount of students that play high school in sports. This is women's sports. So you can see basketball, you can see all different kinds of sports. These numbers are a few years old, so they're probably a little bit higher at this point in certain sports, but you can see that I'll just use basketball, for example, 429,000 ladies participate in girls basketball, only 16,000 NCAA, which is basically 3.9%. So you can see the breakdown from Division I, Division II, Division III. So you can see a lot of female ice hockey players have played Division III ice hockey, which is interesting. For male sports, you can see a lot of majority of your high school kids. You can see obviously the biggest number is football and then track and field. And then looking at the top one, baseball, you can see 7.1% of high school kids go play in the NCAA in baseball, and then you can see the breakdown, which is quite interesting. This is a breakdown of scholarships that are offered generally. Oops, sorry about that. Scholarships that are used in the NCAA level. NAI level and JUCO level. So you can see there's no scholarships out in Division III, but there are some in certain sports for NAI and some in junior colleges, and then quite a bit more in Division I and Division II. From past experience, I coached in Division II for a long time, and a lot of Division II scholarships. I'll use an example of, let's say we have $20,000 in a scholarship. We could actually split that up between 2 or 3 students and give them 10,000 each or 7,500 each, or however you want to do it. So that sometimes Division II schools will spread their money out that way, or if they really need a certain sport or a certain position in a sport, they might use a little bit more money. Here's the men's breakdown. Obviously, like I said, no Division III, but you have NAIA or junior college in there. A lot more Division I, Division II. Here's the average college scholarships by the numbers. Like I said, this is data from like about 2 years ago, so this does give you an idea, but your average amount of scholarships for in-state's around $7,600 a year. Out of state, about 19,000 a year. Private, about 27, and then your average scholarship per year is 8,700. 90% of those scholarships are outside of Division I athletics. 2% of high school athletes were an athletic scholarship. $1.5 billion available in athletic scholarship money. $19 billion in scholarship money available outside athletics, which is crazy. So I'm just going to give you some quick recruiting rules, and this means when a college coach wants to contact you or your student athlete, or come visit your student athlete at school. Each sport has its own kind of set of rules. So if it's sport specific, I suggest you look those sport specific ones up. These are just general. Freshman and sophomore year, you're allowed unofficial visits, and you're allowed up to 3 complimentary tickets per sporting event. And you may only talk to a coach on his or her campus. So if they give you tickets, you go to a game. Let's say you go to like a USF game, you can talk to that coach while you're on their campus. After September 1st, coach can contact you, but only off its campus is allowed 1 phone call per week. Nowadays, a lot of coaches use DMs and text messaging a lot more, and there's rules and regulations around that as well. Not as many. And then senior year, you're allowed 5 official visits, 1 per campus. Basically, you're allowed to that third. I need to take that off, but 30-mile radius is no longer. You can go all over the country, and generally those schools pay for your official visits. But you remember, you got to have that certification account to be able to do those officials. And how some coaches get around the rules, what they do is they communicate with your high school coach, or they communicate with your club coach. Athletes making unofficials and talking to coaches on campus. So they just say, hey, come to the campus, come to attend one of our camps, come to our informational session, take a dorm visit, just take a tour. And then while you're on campus, I can talk to you. So that's how a lot of they get around it. We have the camp piece is bigger. We have some what we call mega camps now, where at one school may host a camp, but 30 or 40 colleges come to that camp to watch or attend to look at prospective student athletes. So it's a great way for your athlete to get noticed by multiple schools in a short amount of time. So if you have questions, these are the 3 main websites to look for: ncaa.org, nai.org, or njacc.org. Those are your 3 main governing bodies of college athletics. Again, here is my contact information. My name is Matthew Wicks. I am the County Athletic Director here in Pasco, and my email, mwicks@pasco.k12.fl.us. And then my direct phone number, 813-794-2755. So at this time, I will definitely open the floor. If anybody has any questions they'd like to ask, they're more than welcome to do that. And I will stick around for a couple minutes. You don't have to stay if we're all done. So if you'd like to leave, you're more than welcome to leave. But again, I'll be on here. So if you have questions, please feel free to ask. If not, have a great evening and thanks for coming.
In a couple of your slides, it mentioned that there was a fee later if you didn't enter the NCAA or NAIA codes.
Yep.
Does that mean there's not a fee if you do it at that time, or does it just means a fee is assessed at a later date?
The fee just means once you convert it from a profile account to a certification account, you will be charged a fee.